This is a beautiful story.
Yeah, so this is from 2015. Let's see this 10-second clip.
Okay, let's watch this clip. I'll get us out of here. Beautiful, beautiful story of cooperation and building bridges.
For sub-Saharan Africa. The $475 million light rail project is a joint Chinese and Ethiopian venture, and the CEO Gechawa Betru tells me it will help transform the city.
Well, that was a beautiful, beautiful opening. As you can see in this picture in 2015, this light rail system set up with China and Ethiopia in Addis Ababa in the capital. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be a great success, right? Yeah. It was going to mobilize tens of thousands of people per day, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to get them to work. It's going to cut down costs. It's going to make the economy flourish, right?
Yeah.
So China comes in with this package and they're like, we're going to help you. We're going to give you a loan.
Yeah, as usual.
We're going to build this state-run project, basically, and it's going to be fantastic, right?
Yeah, it's going to really help.
Yeah, that old CNN thing, that they had some great coverage in the beginning, right?
Yeah, 2015, there we go. So Addis Ababa, there it is.
Almost a decade ago, it was it was in the bustling capital of Addis Ababa, and it was going to help with the transportation woes of the city, because this city was clogged, right? People were having a hard time moving around. The minibuses can only carry so many people, right?
Sure.
But they got to get around to make money. It was envisioned as a project that would redefine urban transport. The system promised to sweep up 60,000 passengers per hour along its tracks, right? That's wild, right?
Yeah, it is.
Today, it sits as a daily reminder of the broken promises of China's funded infrastructure investments that have swept Africa in recent years. Let's have a little look at this.
Okay.
Now, it is in shambles.
Okay.
Crumbling metro reveals failed promise of China's billions in Africa. It was a $475 million project, right?
Which the Ethiopian government had to loan from China, right?
So it's actually just one little slice. The Ethiopian government had to take a $14.8 billion loan. $14.8 billion loan from the Chinese government. This is just one little piece of that.
One of the things.
Yeah, it's one of many mega projects, right?
Right.
Between 2006 and 2018, right? Mm-hmm. The problem is, the original sin of this was that it was so poorly planned.
Of course, it always is.
It was so bad because it relied on Chinese parts to be shipped over there, which were not being shipped. Mm-hmm. It was obviously made of very poor quality, like almost everything we've seen in China. If it's a Chinese government project, it's usually very bad quality, right?
Especially abroad, they don't care as much.
Yes. It was borrowed. The money was borrowed by people that they probably knew they could never pay this back.
Yeah.
This is never going back to them, right?
Yeah.
And so they took on this thing with a promise that China gives them, saying, if you do this infrastructure project, then it's going to bring so much revenue that, of course, you'll be able to pay it back and more, right? This will add so much to your economy. Nowadays, it's just simply not the case. The waiting times for a train now can stretch 20 to 25 minutes, right?
Okay.
As before it was not. 4 times the 6 minutes in the early days, right?
Right.
So think about how few people can actually get on. The quote says, "You might not even get on the train after all this wait. You may realize it's full, there's no space to accommodate you, and when the train arrives after all that wait, you have to wait another 20 minutes to try your luck for the next train." So you're like 40 minutes, an hour, right? Just to get on this one train, to not go very far, right? It's a light rail. This is not like traversing the countryside.
Yeah, you could probably walk that distance in 20 minutes.
So now there's been an explosion in using minibuses and other forms. Like locals are making their own transportation ways around
some motorcycle
this.
taxis and minibus taxis and stuff.
And it's completely gone back to the old days, and it's actually, people are coming up with some very interesting ways around this because it's been such a failure.
Yeah.
So we're looking at massive debts, poorly made project, can't be maintained.
Yeah.
It's overcrowded and full, and it's probably not going to be used in the future.
Well, it's going to get to a point where none of the trains run, right? Right. So right now, obviously, it's running at a very low capacity. So a bunch of the trains obviously broke and can't be fixed. And this is quite common. The problem is with African countries, a lot of the governments are very corrupt. And China is very good at dealing with corruption because the Chinese government itself is very corrupt.
Yes.
So what they'll do is they'll pay off these warlords or the presidents of whatever country,
or mayors, or
buy them a couple of Rolls Royces or whatever they do, right? And then they get these projects. The government takes big loans from China which they can never repay. Never, for some absolute BS infrastructure that doesn't make sense. From an economic standpoint. It sounds good, but think about all the rubbish that they probably were supposed to build and built, but it's just useless for the people. They import all the labor from China, so the locals don't even get a job.
You're right.
It's just a waste of money. And at the end of the day, you've got a bunch of useless. It looks like post-apocalyptic infrastructure,
Always
half-finished buildings.
Always does.
Which you have to pay for.
In fact, now,
yeah.
frequent breakdowns, inadequate maintenance funding, and operational constraints mean barely 1/3 of the 41 trains are operational.
Well,
so we're at 33%
yeah.
Running now.
It's crazy.
And this is only 9 years ago, dude. This is not like we have trains. You have trains in Africa that are from the 20s or something, right?
Exactly,
Back in the day, right?
Steam
that are still
engines,
operational, right?
Yeah, the blue train.
Look at this. This is a 9-year-old train. A third of it is operational now.
A 9-year-old train, yeah.
A 9-year-old train. And we see this with buildings there. We see this with all kinds of projects that are put up in China, is that they're not built for longevity.
Yep.
They're built with constant maintenance in mind. You have to constantly maintain them. And when your parts are coming from all the way across the world at exorbitant costs that you can't pay back already, you're not going to get those parts. Nope. China only needed that PR visit. They only needed the initial video to go put on CGTN in China Daily to say, look at how we're helping African countries, by the way, by getting them into debt traps, right? We're helping them. And now, not only are only 1/3 of its 41 trains operational, now it's only ferrying 55,000 passengers a day. So before its capacity was 60,000 per hour. Now it's 55,000 per day.
Per day.
I mean, it's useless.
It is useless.
It's useless.
That's how it works. You see these big sort of propaganda pushes, like you saw in the beginning. We showed you the clip, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is helping Africa so much. Look at the great stuff China's doing. This partnership." And that's where it ends, because once the cameras are turned off, they forget about it.
Yeah.
They'll finish it quick and cheap and dirty and leave it.
Well, they don't need it.
Yeah, and then they're like, done, we got what we wanted from it, and now we've got a country that owes us a huge debt too. Yay!
And now we might get a military base or a port.
Yeah, exactly.
It's long-term
or their airport or something, We'll own their resources.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
No good.
Yeah, it's no good. So this is the result of the Belt and Road, the bait and rob initiative, as they say.
Check.
Yeah, it's safe.
And he's like, ha ha! Ooh, smashes the check.
It's just such nonsense. Why did you show me this?
That's not a prank.
No.
You just slapped your wife.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
This guy's sleeping.
Temporary tattoo.
What's a temporary tattoo of a wound? He starts freaking out.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's like, what the?
Sweet. Are you what?
Oh, that's gross.
I said it crosses the line.
When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind